have kind of done a little bit of everything in terms of acting, theater, TV, film. But how did you get into acting in the first place?
Well, I did I did plays in high school, and when I picked a college, I picked a college that had everything I did in high school. So your question was, how did I get into it? Did you hear anything?
I heard that you went to college for it, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, yeah. I started out in accounting, and I kept accounting or business as a minor, but I did my BA, and then ended up going back for an MA. Well, it was an MFA program, but they hadn't weren't accredited yet, so I got an MA.
Hmm.
And then I was on the road for a year with a group called the Alpha Omega Players out of Rockport, Texas. And it was four people in a van and going around, and they had three vans going around, all doing the same things, four people in each van. And we did four different shows, and it's very bare bones. But we played country clubs in the winter when they couldn't golf, and Air Force bases, and colleges, and churches. It was a big potpourri, all one night stands. Then after that, I moved to Chicago and started trying to do theater there and was there for about 18 years and then eventually moved to Los Angeles.
And your career has lasted decades and decades. What is it about the craft that keeps you coming back?
Well, theater, in theater, it started out, I really loved performing for a live audience and kind of the, there's a certain thrill to it. And, um, and there's also a camaraderie. Uh, in theater, when you're working with somebody, a group, you're probably with them for 8 weeks at least, and you get to know people, you hang out together, you work together. It's a big kind of familial thing, and I get a charge out of that. Uh, in film and TV, I don't experience that as much, although I do a bit on Days of Our Lives because of having been back and back repeatedly. But a lot of the jobs I get, I'd be in for maybe a day, 3 days, a week or two if I'm lucky. And so there's not that same rapport, but it's really fun to try to inhabit another character other than myself and and explore it and uh, just try to be in the moment and interact with your castmates as if it was the first time something was happening. And it's a challenge, but it's also very rewarding to do.
I did theater in high school, and I very much remember the challenge, yet the reward. So I totally understand what you mean by that.
Hmm. It's like, joining the circus for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, and now you're playing Dr. Rolf on Days of Our Lives. You mentioned that with Days of Our Lives, it kind of feels like theater. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, in theater, you're on stage, you do it, and it's kind of a first time thing, or you're trying to make it into a first time thing, but um, it's not all about doing it at multiple takes. If I'm in an episodic thing, it could take an hour or 2 hours to film one scene, and they'll do it from this angle, and they'll reset, and they'll take a break, and while they're resetting the cameras, and it's a whole different experience. On Days of Our Lives, when I walk in, I've, I'm prepared. You know, when you're doing a soap, obviously, when you're seeing it, you're seeing it in little segments, right? You see like basically a page or two of a scene with Dr. Rolf and another character, and then you'll see some other things, and then you'll see another page, and it's just taking place right after that other one. So essentially, you've got one long scene that's been cut up into 8 pieces. Well, when you're filming those pieces back to back to back to back. And they'll do a rehearsal for for cameras where you kind of are blocking it, and then you'll shoot it. And if it's good, you'll just move on to the next one. Rehearsal cameras, shoot it. Rehearsal cameras. So each one is like a little theater performance in that it's one take. Theater is one take. And a lot of times, what you're doing on a soap is as well. You might get two or three if you're lucky, or if there's been a glitch of some sort, um, or if there's something that you guys aren't hitting. But it's very much like that, and you're in the moment with the other actor trying to figure it out and get through it.
That's really cool. I don't have a whole lot of experience watching soap operas. I just know that they're long lasting and it's kind of like a new episode every single day. So that
Right.
makes sense that it's very theater-like.
Yeah. That's when I go in for my scenes, they're all for that one episode, and they're filming other batches of scenes for that episode, and then they put it all together like magic.
Um, do you prefer that theater-esque format or do you like getting to do multiple takes for things?
I like both. They're both different, really different experiences. Just like theater is very different from film and TV. Um, but I really like being part of a group that's trying to do something and working with that group and repeatedly. Some of the actors in my first storyline, I worked a lot with Stacey Heidick, and so anytime I get to work with her again, it's like old home week, and it's really fun to have some consistency.
I get that. I get that. So when you were auditioning for Days of Our Lives, and when you joined the project, did you know that you were reviving an already established character?
I had no idea. It was during COVID, and so I didn't really get to talk to the casting directors or anything. I got this material, I put it on tape at home. I thought, oh, this is kind of a cool guy, mad scientist kind of thing, which is very much up my alley. And then I got the part, and I was very excited. And I go in, and I'm sitting in the makeup chair, and they start talking about me, and I kind of look similar to William Ute, and I'm like, William Ute, who's that? And then that's when I found out that I was replacing, and that I was a temporary replacement for another actor. Um, and the story I got was that he didn't necessarily want to work during COVID because, for people my age and his age, it was a little bit more dangerous. And also, that was when there was no cure for COVID. There was no vaccine yet or whatever. Or
Mm.
maybe they had just started the vaccine when I got it, but it was at the tail end of that. And uh, so I was a temporary replacement, but then he hasn't come back, and it's been several years, and I'm Dr. Rolf.
Um, that's so like what did you know going into it then?
I didn't realize that it was an established character, and so then immediately I'm talking to some of the other actors I'm working with, and they're telling me history, and they're telling me interactions they've had, or storylines where they were involved with Dr. Rolf, and it was pretty exciting, kind of learning on the run. And then I of course I went online and looked up more about William, and I looked up what scenes I could see online, and got a little taste of what he was doing, uh, and I very quickly, and even with the scenes that I was given, I learned that Dr. Rolf was very devoted to the Demaras, especially to Stefano, and wanted to preserve his legacy, and uh, that became a very important part of my development of the character.
Nice, nice. Um, so then were you able to kind of make the role your own, or were you kind of bound to what William did?
No, I was encouraged to make it my own, and obviously, I have long hair and a ponytail, and William didn't, and but it was convenient because my first scene, I was coming out of jail, and as if William had been in jail, and so it was like I grew up. I let my hair grow in jail,
Makes sense.
and you know, you know, and and uh, I I would say that I have a lot of energy in the role and a lot of uh, excitement in it, and not to say that William didn't, but I think that I have an excess of energy sometimes, and that plays into the character and his excitement about the experiments and
Ah, I'm back.
Yay. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back.
I don't know what's going on. My computer's saying it doesn't have internet, and yet at the bottom it says it does. So I'm
Mm,
confused by that. I'm just going to hold this. There we go.
that works. That works. Um, to be honest, I forget where we left off.
Um, oh, I was just talking about being excited about. You asked me what was if I was able to bring more to the role or of myself, whatever.
Mhm.
And I do think they encouraged it, and I feel like I bring an energy to it that is fresh and fun. Hopefully,
That's awesome to hear. Um, so where is Days of Our Lives at in the season, in the I don't know if there are seasons. Um, I guess are you still filming and putting out more episodes? I don't
um,
fit with it a whole lot, to be honest.
you know they film really far in advance. Like there are episodes that are airing this week that I think I worked on in February.
Oh wow.
So, um, and they do have seasons. They just actually celebrated the beginning of their. I don't know if it's the beginning or the end. They have 60th season.
Wow.
Um, and I have had been off for a while. And last week, Thursday or Friday, my character came back, and I will be on for a while now. I have a storyline that I'm involved in. It's a grand experiment with lots of surprises. So that's all I can say about that.
Fair, that's fair. Um, of what you can say about it, like what are you really excited for people to see?
you know, um, I don't know what I can say. The Dr. Rolf, my journey in Dr. Rolf, I started out one of my first things I did like a heart transplant, and I brainwashed somebody, and then I I brought I brought a character back that had been on ice for 3 years, and so you know it's more of the same kind of thing. Although I'm not brainwashing anybody in this one. I'm not brainwashing, but um, I am. I'm always involved in the health, probably of health, mentally or physically, of some character, and so there's more of that, and it'll be fun. It's a character maybe that will be a surprise.
I like it. I like it. Um, are there any like crazy experiments that you would wish for Dr. Rolf to do, like maybe in future seasons?
No, but I want Dr. Rolf to have a love life. He has no love life. Although I think many episodes again ago he maybe had one short lived. But his love right now is just science and serving the Demera family.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to see some like romantic drama in addition to the mad scientist drama.
Yeah, Yeah, everybody needs a little something, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so in addition to Days of Our Lives, what else are you working on? Is there anything else that we can get excited for?
Well, the industry's been slow. It is starting to pick up, I think. I've been getting some auditions. I recently worked on an episode of Bad Monkey, which is a series with Vince Vaughn. And I'm excited because I really love that show. I love the first season. It's kind of quirky. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. I haven't seen that, so I will add it
Yeah,
to.
check it out.
Um, are there any types of roles or any specific characters that you kind of have like on your bucket list?
Hmm. Besides the love interest, you mean? Um,
Yeah. So for like instead of for Dr. Rolf, like for your career in general.
right. Um, I don't, you know, for a long time, I was just trying to get kind of uh, typical long hair roles, right? The hippie, the psychiatrist, maybe the Peace Corps worker, whatever. But I'm enjoying now. I'm auditioning more for things that aren't typically long hair, but for which it doesn't matter. Um, and so that's opened up a bit of range to me. Um, uh, yeah, and at the same time, I'm getting older, and so there's less availability because uh, you know uh, TV and film tend to be about younger people. Although with the ascent of the baby boomers, um, I think there's more fare coming out for older citizens. Um, and I just you, I don't know that I have a particular role I'd like to be, but I just want to keep working, as everybody does, I suppose. But uh, I don't want to be limited by my age. I want to keep working, and it brings me joy, and I don't ever want to stop. There's no such thing as retirement for an actor as long as they can still kind of remember lines and be present.
That's fair, that's fair. Um, and what advice would you give to someone who hopes to one day be in your position and have recurring roles and potentially revive a mad scientist?
um, well, my advice to anybody pursuing acting is not assume that you're going to get a lot of work right away and to figure out how to support yourself and not starve and have a life in addition to your pursuit of acting, which for me meant a long series of different temp jobs and uh, freelance work. I never pursued uh, a, a, a regular job, so to speak, with a 9 to 5 schedule. Although I did do some things like that, but it was always something that where it was a given that I could walk away for an audition and come back, or be off for a job for a couple weeks and come back. And if not, then they you know replaced me, and I was okay with that. So some sort of steady, or or you have to be willing to support yourself in a way that gives you flexibility. And then just pursue, and uh, don't be don't be upset by no. No is just means you had a chance, that you were in the room, or that you had an opportunity. And so as long as you're getting opportunities, you're doing good. And and so to see it that way and not get burdened by the negative responses, focus on the positives.
That's great advice for also for just life in general.
Right.
Yeah. Um, those were kind of all of the questions that I have for you. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about playing Dr. Rolf or about being an actor?
Um, well, I think I've said being an actor is it's exciting. Uh, but if it's not something you desperately need to do, you should look at other things. Um, I have never been able to let go of it, and so here I am. But I've always had to do something else. Uh, for a while, when I first started out, I was modeling for art classes. I was temp working. I was doing installs for theater and operas. I was doing strikes, installs and strikes, which you've done theater, you know what that is. Um, and then eventually I was working in some scene shops. And here's the thing, when I was doing all that, especially when I was doing all that, I was meeting people and finding out what they were doing. And maybe we were helping each other get jobs. I would get called for an install, and I'd say, well, have you called these people? And they'd do the same for me. We'd refer each other. And kind of finding your family or your clan and helping each other out is a big bonus to a big bonus. It was the way that made everything work for me. And eventually some of those people started scene shops, and I would work for them on a temporary basis. And one of them became a special events person, and I ended up working with him and ended up working for the city of Chicago, uh, doing a setup for all their summer festivals. And eventually I was running the crew for that. And and so one thing leads to another, and everything I did was somehow flexible and great. And so if you can do that, and if you can stand not having a steady paycheck every week, and and kind of being in that carnival life, more power to you. Um, it's worked for me. And now what I do when I came out to LA, I had to kind of start all over again because I was ditching all my contacts from Chicago, and I started doing some handyman work and realized that wasn't the best thing for me. It was okay, but I ended up. My wife started a business, and so I started supporting her business, doing her bookkeeping, and then I was doing art installation because she sells art or she finds art for clients. And so I was doing art installation for her, and now I do art installation for her and for other interior designers. And the beauty of it is it's all short term, on my own schedule, and I can reschedule if a job comes up. And so that's how managed to make it work. I know people who work in law offices, and it's a regular job for them, but they are allowed off for auditions and off for work. Everybody finds their niche, and but it's important to have a side job and know that that's going to be a part of your life. I mean, there are people who are lucky and who end up getting a serious regular job and bounce from one to the next, but even they have downtime in between. And which brings me to my last point. You have to find ways to be have a well-rounded life. If all you're doing is pursuing acting, you're uh, you're missing out on a lot of life, and you're denying yourself uh, a fuller life. So for me, part of that is I had kids late in life, so then I'm in parent groups, and and all that associations that happen from parenting help to round out my life and give me make it so that I'm not as desperate to work as an actor, because I have other things going on in my life and other responsibilities. If it was all about the desperation to get the next job, I'd be pretty depressed. But that all those other things that I'm doing give me a more rounded, fuller life, and I'm happy.